You're listening to the Tony and Josh Show.
Everyone get down, get back up again. Hey, this is the Tony and Josh Show pre-show. It's a little thing that we do prior to the actual show. It can happen, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes before showtime. A little later tonight than that, but there's no guarantee that showtime is actually 10 p.m. Central. We try for that. We really do. Josh has already joined us via Skype all the way from Portland, Oregon.
That's right. How do you know, everybody? Myself. Fine.
I got to check my Skype settings because you weren't coming through very well.
That's not good. Yeah,
I'm sure it's just an adjustment.
Okay. Hopefully it calms down. Yeah.
It's back where it was. Bastard ass software. Try it now.
Oh, okay, that sounds much better. I can hear myself now.
I can go lower. Yeah. Lower would work better for you coming through the any music. You want to try a little lower?
Whatever you can do on your end. I mean, we don't have to have the music blasting on my side, and I don't necessarily have to hear it. But
no, I'm talking about the audio as a whole. I'm adjusting all the audio coming to you, which means my words of wisdom that you may miss.
Oh, shucks.
Are you able to hear me okay now?
Yeah, no, you're fine.
Can you hear me now?
You've always been at a good level. It seems like there's two different streams coming towards me, the one with the music and then you. And you've always been right at the same level 99% of the time. But the music, however, has always fluctuated, gotten really super loud, or have been at the same level as you. It's never really gotten quiet. It's always blasting my eardrums out, or right where it should be.
That is so strange. And by the way, isn't two streams confusing as hell when you first wake up in the morning? What the hell is up with that? And I don't mean, and there's no pun about what the hell's up with that when I say that. It's just a term that I'm using.
Yeah, and as the infamous Ghostbusters once said, "Don't cross the streams."
You know, it was like a game that I played whenever two targets would come up at the same time, which was unusual. I would often shoot in between them because I didn't know which one to shoot at. And I finally learned to shoot at the most dangerous. So in the morning when I wake up and there's two streams, I aim the largest of the two. It makes the least mess.
Yes.
Words of wisdom from the Tony and Josh Show. I need a junior high girl voice going, "Y'all are so gross."
Oh, yeah.
We're men, and we're proud of it. Gross is in our nature, and you women like it because otherwise you'd be killing the bugs. So has there been anything on your local news all the way out there on the East Coast about the dad acquitted in the shooting death of the drunken driver who killed his two sons?
Nope, I haven't heard a single word of it.
Didn't think so. I saw it, and Josh knows I'm messing with him. He's on the West Coast of something.
Yes.
Everything has a West. So anyway, quick thing. If you didn't have a chance to read the link there that I sent you, I did see it on Fox News, which of course is a at least nationwide news. This is several months back. I forget exactly what time of the year it was, but at least a couple of months back, if not longer. A dad had broken down, and they weren't very far from the house, and I'm switching over to live video. I want people to see this.
I'm just doing some mouth warm-up exercises here so I can get my enunciations in proper order for tonight.
And I wouldn't switch over there. I was just messing with him to see if he'd stop doing it.
Oh, nope. My mouth real quick.
I promised the wife I wouldn't do this. But anyway, he was, I guess the dad was steering the car and pushing. And the two young sons, like, they might have been like 13, 15, that age. Maybe a little younger. They were pretty good sized kids, and they were pushing from the back on the car.
All right.
A 20-year-old drunk driver ran in the back of that vehicle, killing his two sons.
Oh my God.
Yes. And strangely enough, they don't know exactly how the 20-year-old drunk driver was shot and killed.
Bullets falling from the sky, just random act of falling ordnance. That sort of thing happens all the time. It was cloudy with a slight chance of bullets.
No weapon was found, and the only suspect was the dad, the grieving dad, who had just lost his two sons to this unconscionable act of driving while drunk, while intoxicated. So the police investigators were able to find bullets of the same caliber that killed the drunken driver, and magazines, I think, for that same type of weapon that would have been used, but they were never able to find the weapon. So this guy went to trial, and the jury came back very quickly with a verdict. And then shortly after that, the verdict was read: innocent.
Yeah, rightly so.
So I really feel bad for both families, but because no matter what your child does, and no matter what their age is, you don't want to see them lose their life. So my condolences out to both sets of families. But as far as a justice type thing goes, even though it may not be a true justice situation, I think it was certainly understandable. I would have had a less of a problem with it if the guy hadn't walked home and got his weapon and walked back. Although I don't know if you are this way, Josh, but me, I would just get angrier as the time went on, thinking about my two children that were crushed by this guy.
Ah, man. I mean, I've got a very vivid imagination, so, what I'm picturing in my head is just absolutely horrific, and I'm sure that it was. I mean, just a description alone. But yeah, we'll get into that more in the going.
Obviously, you can see why I put that up there. I thought it was just, even if you're not aware of the situation, even if you don't have children, you can, maybe you're just a drunk driver. You can certainly have a strong opinion about this, and mine is probably what you would expect from a native Texan, et cetera, et cetera. So I like yours. I saw that video. I didn't watch it, but I did see the video. So quite often you see things like that posted, and you go, okay, yeah, sure, fine. That really happened type thing. I don't.
So just have the 3 stories for tonight. Is that right?
Yes. That's
okay.
I came up with the 1, and you did the 2, right?
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know anything about the American ISIS member.
We'll get into more details about that. But there wasn't an American, and then of course the British one that we saw the video of.
I have heard about the British one, but I'm just telling you because as long as it's like, hey, what about this American ISIS member? I don't know. It's your story.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why I mention it, is like, I don't know. I thought when you would tell me, all right. Well, we can jump into this. Just about 3 minutes after. Anything else that you wanted to cover?
No, not as far as this goes. We'll probably have a couple things to talk about after the show, but But no, I think we're good for starting.
All right, just checking your video. I think maybe let me get it up here on the main screen. You may be a little low. I'm just waiting for you to settle down there a bit and see. Oh, by the way, you probably saw it, but your post on Facebook as XG Talk did pretty good with that T-shirt. I especially like the comment the guy said, "I'm throwing money at my screen."
Yeah, I know. I saw that. I was just like, there's my favorite one right there.
Here, just take it.
All right, how's the video position now?
Yeah, I think that's right. You're just a little bit below the top of the screen there, so that works out well, at least in my opinion. And as I tell my wife, that's what's most important. She says, "You may not like the actor, but that's you." I said, "Well, who the hell do you think I'm speaking for? Everyone? I mean, speak with authority, but come on, I'm just talking about my opinion." And then I'll throw in, "But if you like him, you got to be crazy."
Yeah.
I kid. It's only because I'm an ass. All right, so let's get her going. Get her done. Oh, and I'm sorry, we have a voicemail. Would you like to do the voicemail at the opening of the show? It's a comment about Robin Williams from Nikki G.
I think we should do that at the beginning of the show. Let's do it right after we kind of go through our introduction here. So, right about there.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Sort of, tonight on the Tony and Josh show, yada, yada, yada. But first.
Is that right? Let's see. 42. I just said his name. There we go. Okay, let me see. Was that last show?
No, it was the show before.
Yeah, that's kind of what it was feeling like.
So that'll be episode 35 in reference to.
You are correct, sir. Yep. Right, episode 35. Okay, so he probably was doing, because in the comment he says this is probably too late for tonight's show, so it was probably when he had sent it in for episode 35. And test 1 2 3. My audio's a little low.
Oh, sounds pretty good to me.
You're just saying that because it's true. Okay, 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. Hello, radio. It is. It's a little low. What did I do here?
Are you not hitting your 6 mark or 12 mark like you usually do? So yeah, normally you're aiming for 6, aren't you?
Yep, 6. So I'm a little bit. Well, I guess I'm in that range. It just looks like a little bit. It's not quite hitting it like it normally does. Let me bump it over here on the board.
Say, mic proximity have anything to do with it?
Well, I'm pretty close to it and speaking up into it, but I'd rather back off a little bit and still get the. Let me adjust it up here. Test 1 2 3, and there we go.
All right.
Yeah, all the controls seem to be set where they were before.
Kind of weird how Skype kind of set things back to the way they were before after you had made those adjustments the last few shows.
Well, we had that system reboot with when the power went off in here.
Yeah.
So it could be that since Skype was running, it didn't really save the parameters, although I would have expected it to. Who knows? It was back where it was. Okay, now I don't have to be quite so close to the microphone, and I'm still hitting the 6, which is what I was aiming for.
Yep, and your room doesn't sound any bigger, and I hear no echo, so I think you're good.
Speaking of aiming for, don't you hate it when you wake up in the morning and you got 2 streams?
Right, it's full circle, people. All comes back.
I call that a Seinfeld. Okay, so here we go. Close that. Touch that, scratch this. I'm ready. stop the audio recording.
Warning. The opinions, ideas, views, emotions, and temper tantrums expressed or otherwise conveyed on the Tony and Josh Show may not and most likely is not suitable for all audiences and therefore should not be heard by anyone unless supervised by an appropriate nanny state. Enjoy!
Welcome to the Tony and Josh Show. Tony and Josh are the functionally illiterates of the podcasting world. Now here they are, Tony and Josh.
You know, Josh, I was looking at a post, and I think it's a spam post on our tonyandjosh.com website. It's waiting approval, and I thought it was interesting because it was chastising us, and really me, because I'm primarily the one that does the post, about all the spelling errors that were, I think it was one of those fancy words, rife with spelling errors. And I haven't responded to the post yet, but I was going to say, what part of functionally illiterate don't you understand?
Yeah, right. We can barely read. I don't know about writing. I know my penmanship is nearly illegible, and I type with my fists and other parts of my anatomy. So anything that actually appears on the screen is coherent sentences by sheer luck.
Pure coincidence. If you can read it, it's pure coincidence. Hey, this is Tony. This is episode 37. I wanted to say 36. I'm always a show behind, Josh, and $1 short.
That probably has nothing to do with my abilities to write coherent show notes. Yes.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to episode 37 of the Tony and Josh Show.
If you like silly humor, bad puns, tech, science,
and the occasional story that crosses your moral boundaries,
you guys have got to stick around.
Oh, yes, you do. So we do have the ability to take calls. We'd like for you to join in on the conversation. So if you'd like to call us, you join us, or you can join us live, tweet on with us during the show. I can't read tonight, Josh. So we are on Twitter as at Tony and Josh. So if you want to go over to Twitter and send us some messages, we can read those messages and respond to them. Maybe you'd like to join in on the conversation. We always like having people join in. It makes it a lot more interesting for you and us.
That's right. In fact, you guys can actually get on the air live by calling this live call-in number, area code 267-507-0240. And because we are so top secret, you guys are going to need a special code to get in. And that code is 219-835.
Yep. So I was wrong. It's not Tony and Josh. It is at @ Tony and Josh Show. Everything.
I was going to correct you, but I was told never to correct you on the air. So
never correct me. It's like that Billy Crystal deal where you just get slapped and you say, "Never correct me in front of people." Well, I told you.
Told you once. No, I'm not going to tell you twice.
Funny guy.
Well, guys, tonight on the Tony and Josh Show, we've got a few stories for you. And some of these might tug at your heartstrings a little bit. Some of them might even piss you off. We've got one here about a man who gets retribution on a drunk driver who killed his 2 sons. That's going to be interesting, and we're definitely going to peel back the layers on that one. There's all kinds of buzz going on right now about Americans turning terrorists, and they're turning to ISIS. Not good stuff. And, of course, this is one that we're going to get into here pretty soon about a 9-year-old girl who kills a gun instructor with an Uzi. Well, it's better than an axe, I suppose, but nonetheless. Before we get into any of that kind of stuff, though, we've got a voicemail to share with you guys.
Yes. We've you guys, the past listeners, Nikki G. And Nikki G called us and gave us a comment. Now, this is a comment back on the Robin Williams story, but, anyway, here it is.
Hey, this is Nikki G, and I know I've been slow about sending in voicemails. Still trying to figure out this speak pipe thing, and I know this is probably too late for the show tonight, but I just want to give my 2 cents about Robin Williams. I never did really care for his comedy style, but he was a good actor, and I did enjoy the Mork and Mindy show growing up. And I just want to say that it's a shame that his lifetime of work is marred by the last 10 minutes of his life. Just tragedy all the way around. All right, guys. I'll chat you later. Goodbye.
Yeah, that is a shame, and I agree. I'm still a little upset about Robin Williams taking his own life. I didn't have really time to read it, and you always have to kind of take it with a grain of salt. But I think it was I saw in the Inquirer today that there was several theories or several additional type stories that were being associated with Robin Williams with his death. Oh, and by the way, Nikki G, it's so common for you to call in on both shows. I kind of tend to just bypass saying thank you very much for taking the time to call into the show. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I get so used to hearing his voice almost every episode on our other podcast that, yeah, just kind of gets swept under the rug. Oh, it's just Nikki G again. But no, any caller, whether it be Nikki G, who is a big fan of the show and calls us quite frequently, or a new listener like maybe one of you guys right now, give us a call. We always appreciate the feedback and the interaction.
Absolutely. It's like I said, it's a lot of fun for us. We know that you're listening to the show, and that the stories that we're selecting to bring to you are meaningful to you, at least meaningful enough to, take your time to call in and be a part of the show. We really appreciate it.
If they don't mean a dang thing to you, well, you can still call us and let us know that too.
Yeah, it's true. We don't mind the negative comments either. We all need to learn and grow.
Well, I'm sure that this little young girl who was growing and learning how to shoot a gun, boy, this really is just a tragic story. Any way around it. This 9-year-old girl was with her family. They're from New Jersey, and they were out in Arizona, of all places. And they were at a shooting range, which is, on the surface, everything seems pretty cool. You take your young child out to a shooting range, throw some lead down range, have some fun. Everybody, walks away a winner. This shooting range was a little bit more unique, though, in the sense that they had, not your typical weapons that you could rent or play with. I shouldn't use that term, but use there at the range. And this 9-year-old girl was allowed to use an Uzi, and this is a submachine gun. I'm sure you guys have seen them in the movies and depicted in music videos and stuff like that. But this is it's an automatic weapon. At least this one was, and it's got a fairly substantial clip. Throws a lot of bullets down range. And a 9-year-old girl is a slight person, and not to say that an Uzi is a large gun, because it's not really. It's not much larger than a handgun, really. But it is a very powerful weapon nonetheless. And it very much appeared in the video that's circulating around the internet that this was pretty much the first time this girl had ever handled a weapon. At least so it seemed, just by body language. But there was an instructor on hand, and he was I believe, an off-duty police officer, and was instructing this girl on how to fire this weapon. And you can see in the video, he is very, very aware of the weapon and where it is being pointed. He is very good at instructing her as to how to hold it, what to do with it, her own stance, et cetera, et cetera. And the body language and his instructions are really coming through through this video. And she squeezes off a round or two, and everything's all fine and dandy. Well, then he goes ahead and, okay, she's handling this weapon well enough. Let's go ahead and let her have some fun with it. And he flips the switch to full auto. And that's when things take a turn for the worse. And as she pulls the trigger, the recoil of the weapon brings the barrel up, and the instructor ends up taking a couple bullets to the head. He, of course, did not survive. And this raises the question as to, one, what is too young to learn how to shoot? And I'm not going to sit here and by any means start, lecturing people about how to raise their kids and when is the appropriate time to start teaching gun safety or anything like that. But on that note, should really a 9-year-old girl have been allowed to shoot this kind of weapon in the first place? I mean, sure, taking her to, having her a 25 or a 22, maybe even a little 38 or a 9mm or something. I mean, even getting into that is some pretty big ordinance for a small girl who doesn't have a lot of hand, wrist, and arm strength to, maintain the muzzle of a weapon like that. And so was this, was this just a perfect storm of bad decisions, or was it just an unfortunate accident? I don't know. Tony, I'm sure that being a father of a couple of daughters yourself, and a gun enthusiast, that you would definitely have an opinion and chime in on this.
Well, the thing that gets me, and I only saw a brief image, not even the video of this story. I think it was on Facebook, and honestly, I kind of questioned the veracity, the legitimacy of the story, because you see things like this up on Facebook, and it's just an attempt to get eyes on a web page. So I don't particularly care for stories or situations that are bad for children, especially at that age. I always think children should have the ability to grow up, whether it be free of disease or free of tragedy. And the thing that struck me, that as the moments that I thought about this story, I thought it's really, really sad. I mean, certainly sad for the instructor, but really, really sad for the child, because this child is going to have this memory for the rest of her life. And, she's alive and she's well, but still she's been mentally hurt because of this situation through no fault of her own. So anyway, with that said, I don't think 9 years old is too young to learn how to shoot a weapon. It really depends on what age they are. Whenever they are so curious, they get to your gun and pull it out and show it to a friend and actually shoot them or themselves. So the decision is either don't have a gun in the house, lock it up so that your kids can't get to it, which also means it's locked up from you and you can't get to it in case there's a break-in or some sort of, a cat knocks over a can outside and you go check it out. You don't have your Beretta 9mm at the ready. But no, I don't think 9 years old is too young to teach a child how to shoot. It may be too young to try to teach somebody how to fire something in fully auto, because I have never had the pleasure as of yet of firing a fully automatic weapon, but based on simulations and things that I've heard and seen, they have a tendency to rise up, and because of those rapid controlled explosions. And if you don't have the upper body strength to control it, you ain't gonna control it. It's gonna go up and around, and you're gonna be spinning, and somebody's gonna get shot. I think there was a monkey. Somebody gave an AK-47 to a monkey in Africa.
What?
Oh, you never seen that video? It's hilarious. It's like some of these not warlords, but some of these warring factions over in Africa. This chimpanzee's running around, and I think he either takes the AK-47 away from one of the terrorist type people or something. I can't believe you hadn't seen that. I thought you would start laughing and go, "Oh yeah, no!" And they're like running for the hills because this monkey goes off with this thing full auto 30-round clip.
Oh, jeez.
I'll have to find that, put it in the show notes. It's hilarious. I can't believe you didn't see it. But a chimpanzee has a lot of strength. A full-grown chimpanzee has a lot of strength, and but they don't have the training, or they don't know exactly what's going on. So I kind of equate this to a child. The child's not going to have the presence of mind to let go of that trigger.
Right.
And I'm really surprised that the instructor made this mistake. I think that squeezing one singles off is one thing, because that, you get the explosion, there's a slight rise, but then the gun's going to go back down just by the weight of the gun. But full auto, man, that's like a motorboat.
Yeah, and apparently he is a very well-trained instructor. He is very well versed in many different weapons, and I guess he has instructed kids before in this. I mean, not necessarily, this is how you use a fully automatic weapon, but it's like, okay, this is how you use a gun. Teach them gun safety, get them out on the range, fire off some rounds, and okay, now we're going to go full auto. This is what you do. And I guess he's been very cautious in the past about controlling the muzzle and controlling the rise and everything. And this time, for whatever reason, he just, I'm not going to say threw caution to the wind, but definitely wasn't as cautious as he has known to have been in the past. Now, maybe that's just sort of saving face and trying to protect his reputation or whatever. But nonetheless, I do think that a 9-year-old girl is not the right person unless she has been brought up and has had formal training by her parents and whatnot around, gun safety, around guns and whatnot, to be shooting an automatic weapon of any kind, whether it's a fully automatic pistol, whether it's an assault rifle, or whether it's something as small, and with the rapid fire as an Uzi. So, yeah, there definitely, I believe, was some bad decisions in this. Should she have been on the range? Absolutely. People, get your kids, if you believe in the right to use guns and enjoy shooting them. By all means, get your kids out on the range. Teach them gun safety as early and as often as possible.
Hey, I'm sorry. I'll add in here before you get too far down the road. I'll add in here, even if you don't agree with guns, even if you don't think that anybody should use guns, I believe you should still know how to use them. You don't know if you'll ever be in a situation in the future where you will be forced to use one to save yourself or your family's lives, and you need to know how to use it. It's much like knowing how to use a hammer to nail a piece of wood to something else.
Or driving a stick.
Yes. Or learning how to read an analog clock.
Tying your shoes on Velcro.
Yeah, I don't believe in analog clocks, damn it, and I'm going to pass a law to get rid of that Second Amendment. Yeah, Second Amendment analog clock. What the hell with analog clocks? We don't use those anymore. That's something the founding fathers used. We don't use. So it's just, a gun is just a tool. Hate it, don't like it, get legislation passed or get the Second Amendment removed. That's fine. Work towards all that. Learn how to shoot a gun. I'm telling you, there's a reason why America saved Britain's ass in World War II. And I think that the same thing that happened with some little country wanting to take over the world, that could happen again. And a well-armed America is always going to keep this country free, because nobody is going to come over here as long as there is a gun behind every blade of grass.
You're right. And speaking of Americans and shooting guns, we've got this, and I'm not going to call it a trend because there's only been a few isolated instances and incidents.
Yeah.
Where we have Americans that are turning terrorist. And there's been a story here in the news recently, in fact, about this one particular terrorist. And I'm not going to call him out by name because honestly, I don't believe that he deserves any more fame or recognition than has already been plastered across every news media outlet on the planet, including this one almost. But there's this one young man from, I believe, Minnesota is what it was. And he was a high school student, was known for being a joker, being into basketball and pizza. And shortly after high school, he had a few run-ins with the law. And I'm not going to get into racial stereotyping or anything, but he was a young African-American with neck tattoos. So, there's obviously a history of some unique decisions in that case that has probably led him down the path of some more bad decisions. And in this case, he ended up hooking up with ISIS and found solace or whatever he was looking for in that terrorist group, and was just here this week found fighting alongside of them, and he was put down. And of course, I don't think they knew that he was an American until his body was recovered. There was some unique tattoos that were identified, as well as around $800 in cash in his pocket, and of course the American passport, which identified him as of course being a U.S. citizen, which raises some very interesting questions as to the recruiting tactics and how he managed to go from basketball and pizza to AK-47s in the desert. It's a very interesting jump, and one that is very troubling in the sense that we have, American youth now that are what seems to be very quickly jumping on the bandwagon of, these the extremist Islam groups. I mean, this has happened before. We've got, terrorists that, U.S. terrorists that tried to do, we had the underwear bomber that was on a flight. We had here in my own hometown, the Christmas tree bomber, as they call him. There's been several of these instances where these are U.S. citizens who were either staying on U.S. soil or traveling abroad have turned to terrorism for whatever reason. and are, of course, now turning against their homeland, and it's very, very disturbing. And I don't know why it's happening. I don't know what's going on. I'm displeased with my country as much as the next person as far as what's going on in the government and stuff lately. But I don't want to get too political with all that. But nonetheless, what the hell is going on?
Well, let me bear with me here for a second. Let me go out on a limb about this. I hate to put this back in the president's lap, but I really think this is another case of George Bush's fault. I think that now, actually, the great divisor, who knew math would be such an important thing in the presidency, but I think the great divider is I think this is another case of our commander in chief capitalizing on the differences in our population, the haves, the have-nots, the wants, the want to give me, handout type thing. And I think that whenever you start putting groups of people inside America against one another, especially at that level of leadership, you're going to have situations like this. Now, we're not talking about Ferguson tonight, but this reminded me of that, where you have a black population in Ferguson very upset, and I think rightfully so, whenever this young man is gunned down by a police officer. Now, I would urge everybody to wait and get the information before you start looting and pillaging. Actually, I would never loot and pillage if I were you, but you have this population where they don't feel like they're being heard. They don't feel like they're being respected. They don't feel like they're being treated fairly. So they raise holy hell about it. And I can't say that I blame that if that's an ongoing thing. You're not being represented by somebody that has your same feelings and goals in life. It's something the betterment of your life and your children's lives. So I can see a situation developing where, especially the young men and women who haven't really reached maturity and being able to see what some of this BS for what it is, might go off and do something like this, might go off and join a group that will fight against the country that has, as they see it in their eyes, not done very well for them.
I mean, maybe it is just the effectiveness of the type of propaganda that is being put out there, and how it falls on the eyes and ears of an impressionable, maybe unfortunate poor youth, as it were. I don't know what kind of background this kid came from,
right?
And I say kid, I think he was like 27.
Well, the brain's supposed to form by 25, so no excuses there, young man.
Right. So, but nonetheless, this is something that I think that we need to watch out for as a society. Don't leave this kind of stuff up to, CIA, FBI, whatever. If your son or daughter, your neighbor's son or daughter, your friend, your buddy, your pal, whatever, starts turning kind of weird and starts, starting talking about jihadist and all of this and all that kind of stuff.
Kill them in their sleep.
Yeah, that's a blanket party. No, I mean, I think those are red flags, and I'm not saying go out and tattle right away to your nearest Homeland Security agent, but you need to start talking about it.
Trust your gut.
Start raising public awareness about it, and maybe doing something about it. I don't know. I'm not going to say this is a call to arms or anything, but maybe more so just a call for awareness.
Well, and I'll say this: the guy wasn't on U.S. soil fighting for ISIS, so my understanding and balanced approach is what I just said. Here's my not understanding and unbalanced approach, but I still believe in both of them. I think it's great. If you dislike this country so much and you would like to fight our military with ISIS or the Russians or the Chinese or whoever you want to go join, I say go join them, because we'll roll over your ass and then you won't be a problem anymore.
Yeah, right.
And if you want to do it here, we'll roll over your ass and you won't do it anymore. So the best thing you can do if you don't like America is get the hell out and live your life the way you want to live it in that other country or region of the world that more agrees with your ideas and opinions. But leave America and Americans alone, because it's not going to go well for you or the
Yeah.
country that you're currently in.
And of course, what you're bringing your family into this, which of course you're going to lose your life, and now you're putting that on your family. So way to go. You touched on something just a little bit ago about Ferguson, and I hate kind of delving out of the show notes a little bit, but there's a little bit of a rabbit trail I have to go down because it was mentioned.
Hey, this is what the show's about. Let's talk about stuff and see where it takes us, man.
So I don't know. You probably haven't heard about this, but it's being swept under the rug as much as possible because playing the race card is so much more sensational and it's sexy news because it's such a hot taboo topic and all that stuff. But there was a black cop in Utah that killed an unarmed white boy, and white boy. I think he was 20 years old or something, right around there. But nonetheless. And have you heard about that? Probably not.
I saw a little something on Facebook. That's it.
Right. There's going to be little blips here and there, but from what I understand, I mean, this is. I mean, when that whole Michael Brown Ferguson incident, popped off. It was saturating the news. Of course, the riots and the looting and all that stuff very much fed into that. And of course, that makes for very sensational news, especially when you're seeing, lots of militarized police forces and smoke bombs and tear gas and all sorts of that stuff going on. This obviously hasn't gotten out of hand. There are protesters that are raising quite a stink about this, but it hasn't been hitting the news with the kind of tidal wave force that this Ferguson incident did. So this young guy, Dylan Taylor, 20-year-old white man, I guess, because he's after 18.
Yeah, the whole boy reference is making me really nervous.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Well, he looks like, he's 20, looks like he's going on 16. Very, very young, baby face-ish type. So that's why I keep saying boy. But this 20-year-old man, a white, unarmed, was shot by a black cop. And of course, the uprising has not hit the escalation that it did in Ferguson. Why? Because it's not as sensational of a news. You can't really play the race card because he was just another white kid, white guy that got shot. There's definitely some racial divide there. You could spin this any which way you want to, but the fact of the matter is that I don't think that we're going to hear about it because it was just, some other white guy that got shot. Not a big deal, apparently. But, some black kid gets shot and, Jesse Jackson comes out of the woodwork and riots start happening. And, of course, the whole, the Midwest goes up in arms.
Two black young men get shot, Trayvon Martin and now the case in Ferguson. And, caca hits the fan. And, like I said earlier, if you don't feel like your government is representing you, and if you feel like the police are oppressing you and it's because of your color, not because of how you act, not because of how responsible you are, not because of the job that you hold, but simply because of your color, then yeah, I can kind of understand having a little bit of sensitivity about that. I'll relate the story that I've related probably before when my brother-in-law, originally from Mexico, the whole family moved here legally, went through the whole process, pisses them off, these people that aren't following the process, cutting in line, so to speak. But anyway, he was relating, and I've been a brother-in-law to this man for a long time, so I don't look at him as a Mexican brother-in-law. I look at him as my brother-in-law and friend. So he's telling me about this time that got pulled over by, I think, a Houston cop, and some of the things that were said that this cop said to him, and so on and so forth. And I said, man, I would have just told him, look, you need to do this. You want to give me a ticket? That's fine. I don't need the rest of this crap. And by the way, I need the name of your sergeant because I'm going to report this.
Yeah.
And there was a pause, and he looked me in the eye and he says, yeah, I know, but you're white. And then I thought, oh, he's not. My brother-in-law's not. I changed my thinking as far as who I was talking to, from a friend and brother-in-law to a man that is not white and has to take that into consideration when he's dealing with police because of all his life of having to deal with police and being looked at a different way. And I can't say, well, it'll come out here in our next story. And in fact, let me move over to that. The law, we're supposed to be a nation of laws, and following those laws is what makes us different. And there was a recent incident, maybe a couple of months ago, where a man and his two sons were broken down, and they weren't very far from their house, so they were pushing the vehicle to the house. And I think the father was at the steering wheel, probably shoulder to the A-frame, and pushing along. And the two young children that must have been like 13, 15, maybe a little younger than that, but at least big enough to be able to push a car, were at the rear of the vehicle pushing it when a 20-year-old drunken driver ran into the back of the vehicle, killing the two boys.
Oh, God. Oh, man.
And the prosecution, the dad was recently on trial because the prosecution says that the dad walked home, retrieved a handgun, came back and killed the 20-year-old drunk driver, shot him dead.
What, was he a block away? I mean, how close was he to the incident? I mean, to the scene of the crime?
I do not have that information, but I guess when your two children were killed by somebody that thoughtlessly drinks and then gets behind a wheel and drives, no distance would be too far.
Say no mountain too tall, no valley too deep.
So being here in Texas, and this occurring in the Southeast Texas area, Houston area, I believe, it's been big news here the last couple of weeks because the father of the two slain kids was on trial for the murder of the 20-year-old drunk driver. But the prosecution basically said he went home, retrieved a weapon, came back, killed the 20-year-old drunk driver, and then I guess it's waited for police. But no weapon was ever found.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, the prosecution the DA would have had to have had some sort of evidence in order to bring this case to trial even. I mean, obviously, nobody else around. I'm sure the guy, the father,
witnesses,
was pretty tight-lipped. Oh yeah, no, I did it. That I'm sure he wasn't at the scene, stating anything like that. But I would imagine that they would have had to have had some degree of evidence against him.
I think that it was I think it was just the situation. I think it's something that's easily understood and very logical. The process that it's probably not Bigfoot. But we all know Bigfoot doesn't kill. He only throws people around. So if you've watched the Slim Jim commercials or what is it? Is
it Jack Links?
Yeah, it's some sort of beef jerky or something.
Anyways,
don't eat the turkey jerky, kids. You don't want to go there. Anyway, so I think it's pretty clear that he killed this young man. But even though we're a nation of laws, and even though I think that we should wait and get evidence, like I was talking about in Ferguson, and even in this case where the black cop shoots the white young man, I say good on him. It's not something I wouldn't do. I don't know that I could leave and go home and get a weapon and come back. I think I'd just put my my arm around his neck and hold it there until he stopped wiggling.
I was going to say I probably wouldn't have had the patience, and there's no telling. He could have been 3 houses down. He could have been 13 miles away.
Could be at the driveway. I don't know. They could have almost been home.
Right. I don't know. But unless I was literally, on the same block, I don't think that I would have had the patience to walk home. And I can only imagine what was going through his head on that walk.
The scene, the visualization, and what he had just witnessed.
Oh no, I'm sure it was very well thought through. I'm sure he had plenty of time to think about things and to come back. And chances are, I mean, the 20-year-old driver was probably so S-faced drunk that he was passed out on the airbag, over the wheel of the car when the father got back to the scene. He probably didn't even see it coming. I mean, regardless of that, I mean, it's always tragic when somebody loses their life.
Yeah, especially a young person, and 20 is very young.
Yeah, definitely had his whole life in front of him, but nonetheless, did he have it coming? I'm going to say, sure. Yeah. Why not? I would have to say that I probably would have done the same thing if I was close. Otherwise, my knuckles would be through the skins of my hands from beating him into a mud puddle.
Yep. So, and it goes back to the nation of laws that I'm talking about. It's against the law for this man to take justice upon himself. It's against the law for you or me. Now, we can defend ourselves, but certainly in this situation, it wasn't a self-defense situation. I think temporary insanity could even be used. Even though he walked all the way home, I don't care if it was 20 miles. Even though he walked all the way home and walked back, I think seeing the death of your two children, and I think that's all the children.
In that kind of a situation. Now, this wasn't, a drowning or an asphyxiation or something like that. This was a very violent end to two very young boys' lives.
And seemingly your whole world. I mean, this is your two kids that have been with you from when they were babies, and you're a family man, and this other person comes up that was not taught either, was attempted to be taught by his family and wasn't, or a family that didn't even care to allow him to be in that situation. Now, I know 20, you're not under the control of anybody. You're an adult. But, parents can still exert control. And I'm not trying to place the blame on the parents. I'm just saying that it is the parents' responsibility to teach your kids what to do and what not to do. And I don't know if that guy was taught properly. Certainly, he shouldn't have been drinking and driving. He did not deserve to be shot by the father for his crime. He deserved to be arrested and put in court, and hundreds and thousands of dollars spent in prosecuting him so that he could serve 2 life sentences for those 2 boys that he killed because he removed his ability to drive a vehicle or think properly by all the alcohol that he drank. So it's cheaper. It's cheaper for the bullet.
Yeah.
But there was 2 families that lost children, and a child it doesn't matter what the age of the child is. It doesn't matter what the child did. It's still a tragedy when their life is cut short. So, as a parent, I would not want my child shot like that. I would want them alive, and I could visit them in prison. I don't want to lose my child. There's always hope. When there's no life, there's no hope. But by the same token, if it was my 2 children or even 1 child that was needlessly killed by somebody that couldn't maintain a proper level of right and wrong, I'd probably take their life too.
There's just one last point to make on this, and I'm really telling you, I can't argue with anything you just said there. But as far as I know, the legal drinking age in Texas, anywhere in 21. Texas, regardless of the county, is 21. Am I wrong?
21.
So, he was breaking the law threefold. He was drinking illegally, driving intoxicated, and then, of course, the crime of actually, killing these 2 kids, whether it was intentional or not. We're talking vehicular homicide here. But nonetheless, that's 3 strikes right there. I would think that you're, he would, if nothing else, he'd be gone for a long, long time for that. But you're right. It's tragic loss of life, and I can't really make that much light of it. And ordinarily, I like to go out on a humorous note, and I can't on this one. No. So I'm just going to go out pissed off.
Well, that's the way you see shows on television sometimes, and they don't always catch the bad guy. Sometimes the bad guy gets away, and sometimes the story isn't a happy one. And the only thing I can say that's happy about this is I made a comment on Twitter a couple of weeks ago when this trial was going that I would be shocked if this man was found guilty of murder. That I didn't think any jury, any person on a jury is going to, I don't care if the jury was threatened with personal prosecution if they didn't follow the law. No jury, especially one that had children, was going to prosecute this guy.
Any one of those people in that jury who was a parent would have been enough to make sure that this guy didn't get a unanimous decision and end up, I'm not going to say use the term getting away or walked scot-free or anything. I'm
Oh.
sure that he's got his own demons that he's going to have to battle, because of this. But yeah, no, a conviction would have been nowhere on the radar in this guy's future.
Yeah. Losing those kids is suffering enough.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
But I'll say this. Back in the 50s, if you were a white person and you killed a black person, no jury would convict you of that murder either. And that's why it's important for us to be a nation of laws and follow those laws and not condone, for personal reason, personal beliefs, why it should be okay to not follow the law. So that's where I'm conflicted. I'm a parent. I understand as a parent wanting to take the life of the person that took your children's life, but at the same time, I think I'm smart enough to understand that can easily go down a whole nother road that you really don't want to go down because it's not fair, it's not the law, it's not right. So,
well, yeah, I mean, it's not the law. I'm not going to say it was right or wrong, because I can't say that I would have not done the same thing. And it basically comes down to street justice, and street justice is still justice in my book. Whether it be vigilante, whether it be right or wrong, I believe it is still justice.
Well, that's our show for tonight. We hope you enjoyed it, even if it was a bit depressing, at least thought-provoking. And, hope you can join us for our next show. We're here every Wednesday night, 10 p.m. Central Time, right here on YouTube. If you're watching the recorded version, or if you're listening to the audio-only podcast, you can just go to youtube.com/The Tony and Josh Show.
And I'm going to make a proclamation right now, guys. Episode 38, I'm going to bring some levity, whether it kills me or not. We're going to bring some funny to the next show. And I don't care what Tony's saying. I'm going to dig deep into the gutter and pull something out for you guys. So stick around for the next Tony and Josh show. Episode 38 coming next week, as every week, Wednesdays, 10 p.m. Central on YouTube. Hope you guys join us.
I'll go way out on a limb, and I will say that Josh's levity story will either have a penis or a vagina in it.
You never can tell. Yeah, oftentimes when I said I'll dig deep into the gutter, yeah, you never.
Oh, gee, I don't know what's going to happen, Josh. The whole thing is going to hell. I wonder if it's any worse now than what it was. I have a tendency to think that it's like most things. When you get up really, really close to something, it doesn't look quite as appealing than when you go back and have an overview. And I think the passage of time makes us look back on the past as a more of a golden age, because we're remembering the overview and not the detail. And I'm hopeful that's why everybody thinks everything's going to hell right now, is that you're just seeing the detail, the minutia.
We call that good from far, far from good.
The forest from the trees, or the trees from the forest. Yeah, it all smells like pine and bear shit to me.
Well, if you guys are looking for all kinds of crazy stuff, I highly encourage you guys to head over to TonyandJosh.com. You guys can find our entire show archived there for your listening pleasure, and we occasionally post up some other stuff for your viewing pleasure as well. So make sure you guys check that out, and of course, make sure you guys are joining us on YouTube every Wednesday, 10 p.m. Central, for our live show. Join in on the chat, and of course, you guys can join in on the fun with Twitter, or by leaving us a voicemail over at TonyandJosh.com using SpeakPipe. It's a little thing right there on the right side of the screen. You guys check that out, and that's exactly how Nikki G left us a voicemail for tonight's show.
I was just going to mention, if you have a comment for the show, and maybe you're 10 shows back and you go, oh, I shouldn't call in because this is from a story for so long ago, call in anyway. We'll go back and reference that story. It won't keep us from talking about it. So anything that you want to talk about, any comment that you want to make about a past story, or maybe you got an idea for a future story that we should cover, call us up. Let us know.
Yep. Looking forward to hearing from you.
Everybody have a great night. It's getting long, Josh.
Yeah, I was saying, and we could have wrapped that up a little bit quicker, but
I think the end, even though it was kind of sad and depressing, I think that was very powerful. I think that was very thought provoking. So I think that was a good way. I don't know if I don't know it's necessarily a bad thing to end on something that's thought provoking and sad.
No, I agree with you there. I mean, we could have stretched this thing out for an even hour.
Yeah.
For that matter. I mean, geez, what do we got here? Going, I got basically about 43 minutes, 43, 44 minutes of a show. So
yeah, 44 something, almost 45, which is fine. I mean, I think when it's going well, and that's the freedom we have in podcasting. Oh, by the way, Stitcher has sent out messages about the Tony and Josh show and the XG Talk show, and I didn't realize, that I wasn't subscribed to them. I've subscribed to them, and I wouldn't say they do it for all the shows, but they do it for several shows. It's not just ours.
Oh, okay. I would imagine as such. I didn't think that we were that special.
Well, they're trying to, obviously they're trying to drum up business, get people to come over to Stitcher and listen to their stuff. And I have no problem with that since we publish our stuff on Stitcher, and want more people listening to our stuff. And, we give everything an alternative to give people an alternative to what's already there. I mean, there may be more of the same of what we're doing. I don't know. But then again, I look at it this way. It doesn't matter because it's not you and me. Whoever's doing it isn't you and me, and that's what makes this show unique. And a certain group of people will enjoy that because, you got friends, you got certain people that like the way you are, and they gravitate towards you. And the same thing will be true for us and our show. There'll be certain people, don't know how many, don't know how long they'll be, how long it'll take them to find us, but we'll be here.
Yes, we will. What do you want to do for a promo this evening?
So let's go ahead and record something that I can put at the front of the show. Audio, if nothing else, audio only. We can record the video side of it too. It doesn't matter, but it really is a nice intro into the show of what we're covering. It's a great 30-second synopsis of what's going to be on the show, and I think that can possibly pull people in. Or they can say, that doesn't sound anything like I want to listen to, and they'll move along instead of having to listen to the whole show. That's my opinion.
So, can we talk briefly about the other show?
Oh yeah, sure.
I don't know if you want to do that while we're still recording post-show, or if you wanted to pause the stream, or how you want to do that. But I want to talk a little bit about about our potential sponsor.
Yeah, no, we can wrap this thing up and say goodnight to the thousands of viewers that we currently have. Anyway, for our YouTube audience, thank you very much for being here tonight. We hope you enjoyed it. We didn't bum you out too much. Don't go killing yourself because of being bummed out on the show. That's a Robin Williams reference. And,
but if you do, sure that you give credit to the Tony and Josh show in your suicide note.
Oh boy, wouldn't that be great?
Can you imagine?
Podcast kills. The deadly podcast, Tony and Josh. Can you listen and not kill yourself? What a great promo.
Wouldn't that be? Oh, jeez.
The Tony and Josh show renames their show to The Ring.
Yeah, right.
You knew it as a VHS video that you couldn't watch and not die. Here's a podcast for the 21st century that you can't listen to and not kill yourself before it's over.
We're gonna have to have a Grim Reaper for our new logo or something. Yeah.
Anyway, everybody have a great night. Pardon us in our very bad, poor taste humor. But
in sick humor that we have, yes. But you'll get used to it. Just listen to more shows.
But in our defense, we are men. I think that says it all. All right, guys. Thanks a lot, Josh. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Nope. Just make sure you guys tell a friend, and we'll catch you next week.
Keep your pants on, people.
Ooh.